Thanks for joining me. I'm the real Howard Yates, speaking in drums, and in today's episode, we are going to talk about the Puresound Equalizer 13-inch snare wires. As always, remember to like this video and subscribe to this channel to keep the content going. Alright, so we're going to jump right in and talk about the product. These again are the Puresound 13-inch Equalizer snare wires. These 13-inch snare wires have the gap in the middle just like the 14-inch, but the difference is not only that they're an inch shorter, but there's less wires. The 14-inch version that I have that's on the birch snare drum, that has 16 wires. 8 on each side, gap in the middle. The 13-inch, however, has 12 strands total, 6 on each side with the gap in the middle. The wires themselves are medium gauge stainless steel. Unlike the custom Pro snare wires from Puresound, the equalizers do not come with the quick release straps. They only come with the little shoelaces here that you can use in place of the plastic tabs, which did come with this Tama Club Jam snare drum. Just like any of the Puresound products that you purchase, whether it's Custom Pro or the equalizers, you do get the insert that gives you the directions on how to install the wires properly. The price range on this product is $20.99 to about $24, just depending on where you get it. I ordered it from Amazon.com. By way of Sweetwater. It was shipped to my house, but you can also get it from Sweetwater directly or from Guitar Center. I ended up having to buy these wires out of necessity because the snare drum is only 13 inches. It's a 5x13. The snare drum itself, because it's smaller, I don't have any way to switch out with my other snare wires because those are 14 inches. This one's a 13. So I had to buy the Puresound Equalizer 13-inch wires this time. The original wires that came with it are these here. These are 20 strands. These are actually, if you can see it, there's the Tama logo. So I'm going to have an audio clip played for you here. I don't have a video clip, but this is after I got the kit. This had the stock wires on there. This is what it sounded like. Sounded pretty bad. So in this next segment, I'm going to show you how I apply the wires to my snare drum. Now, there are some important things to remember about applying the wires. Now, in the directions, it tells you to adjust the snare tension knob until it's about halfway between the highest and lowest positions. And I recommended that before as well, especially in the first video with the Custom Pro snare wires on the brass snare drum. But I don't recommend it on this particular drum because I've had so many problems. The throw-off switch would not have it as a tenor drum. You'd hear rattling from underneath of it. The wires were still hitting the reso head. I could get it to lower just enough to where it's no longer rattling or smacking up against the reso head. But then when I would turn the throw switch back on, the snares would rattle and it would just sound really cheap. So if having the snare tension knob halfway between the highest and lowest positions doesn't work for you, you may want to take it down as far as you can. If it does come apart, of course, you can screw it back in. And you may want to start from there. And of course, while you're doing this, make sure that the throw-off switch is in the off position. Now you'll want to get your wires set evenly on either side. This means that not only do you want them to be straight, but you don't want the plates on either side to be sitting on the bearing edge of the shell. Once you thread the strings through the holes, make sure that when you put them around the bolts, that you don't tighten them too tight. You basically want to set the wires in the middle, not on the bearing edge on either end, and then you want the strings to go out, wrap around, and then you want to tighten down those end plates. You don't want a lot of tension on those shoestrings, and you should be able to actually feel that once you wrap them around and tighten them down with the end plates there. If you see or feel any tension, it should not be tight. It should be loose. It should basically be sitting there. all the adjustments you're going to make later are going to make all of the difference in how the snares apply to the reso head and how it's going to respond. Sometimes during this process, you may have to recenter the wires, and that just is a given when you're kind of pulling on both ends. So you may want to set one end, tighten the end plates, and then go back to the other side and do the same thing. Just remember to keep the end plates off of the bearing edge, keep the tension loose. Now on the next step, you can do one of two things. Either way, whichever works for you. You can either go ahead and take the throw off switch and turn it back on, and then tighten up the snare tension knob, or you can do the snare tension knob first and turn that, and then put the throw off switch up. I usually have it to where the throw off switch has been turned back on, and then turn the snare tension knob to get the snares basically to where I want them to be. Remember, you always want the snares to be able to turn off so that you have the tenor drum clean sounding without the wires hitting the reso head, and then you want them to be tight enough that when you put the throw off switch back on, that your snare is very tight and crisp and doesn't have a rattle to it. The important thing about setting up the snare wires this way, basically not having a lot of tension or hardly any tension on the strings when you're putting them through the end plates, is that you don't want to inevitably overstretch the wires. Same thing applies at the end with the snare tension knob. You don't want to tighten it so tight that you actually in turn pull the strings so much that you do overstretch the wires. That can happen. You want to be careful with that. If you do it, it can ruin the response that you get from those wires through your drum. This next segment, you're going to hear what it sounds like when I have the shoestrings on instead of the plastic tabs. Since I have it in here with me, I'm going to go ahead and demo the drum so that you can hear what it sounds like in-house. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm the real Howard Yates speaking in drums. Remember to like the video, and again, please subscribe to this channel. It helps keep the content going. Thank you so much and have a good day. Bye.